Hi, I'm Marc Sumner, CEO and founder of Robertson Sumner. Welcome to the Channel Chat podcast, where we will share learnings, best practices and failures with some of the biggest names in the IT industry. Today I had the pleasure of speaking to Alex Tatham, the MD of Westcoast, on his views on the importance of protecting your workforce while this COVID-19 virus is happening, the importance of a business continuity plan as well, which some of us may not have thought of, but also as well the impacts on the supply chain. So sit back, listen and enjoy. Most people, Alex, me included, couldn't obviously predict the speed of what's happened,
yes.
And they probably wouldn't have had a business continuity plan. Now, for a large organisation like you, I suppose you probably did have a business continuity plan. So how's that stood up against what's happened with COVID?
Well, the first thing I think to say is that actually all our people were on a VDI solution anyway, and therefore were able to work from home anyway. Clearly, we are testing our business continuity plan to its extreme. I think it'd be fair to say at the moment, as is every distributor and every reseller partner, I'm certain, and every business out there. What's interesting, of course, is that when we get through all this and someone asks us, do you have a business continuity plan? I go, yes, we survived COVID-19. Yeah, therefore we'll have tested it to the extreme. They won't ask us again.
Alex, how do you protect the people in the warehouse, since you can't, remote work those guys? And you've obviously still got to ship goods every day.
Well, by the way, it's an extremely important question. The first and most important thing that myself and our board at Westcoast have got to do is to make sure that we do our very best for our people and keep them as safe as we can. At the same time, of course, we've got to make sure that we can continue to ship from our warehouse. Very much all of our warehouse staff are considered as key workers. We are doing a ton to the NHS at the moment, including the new hospitals being set up out there in the Excel Centre and beyond. And you're going to see an awful lot of work done from Westcoast to be able to support both the NHS and all government departments at the moment, because there's an extreme demand out there. So interestingly enough, our warehouse manager this morning said it's like Black Friday every day at the moment. That's the kind of work and levels of work that we are doing.
Really?
Now, clearly, we are losing some capacity in the warehouse, whether through self-isolation or some people cannot come to work for whatever reason. So the most important thing we do is we try and keep some social distancing. The good news is the forklift truck will probably do that for you. But nevertheless, we've got wipes and gloves, and everyone is making sure that they're extremely careful about what they're doing. But they're also being extremely sensible too. And we've had wonderful stories of people coming back post self-isolation, back into the warehouse. They're swapping shifts just to make sure that they can keep the company going. We're extremely proud of everyone in our warehouse at the moment. And it's a delight that we are doing as much business as we are at the moment with all their support.
Great. Short term, there's obviously going to be a lot of sales of end user video conferencing kit, etc. What's the impact on hardware supply, since very few people will be able to get into their data centers?
Well, of course, the first thing is that that goods are being delivered from HP Enterprise, for instance, and other places, directly from the factory. Now, they've had supply problems, and clearly a lot of goods have been pushed out in terms of their delivery times and ability to be able to make these goods. However, of course, we are checking every single order to make sure that they can be received at the place that they are being delivered to, because that's going to be an important factor. And if they can't be, then we're working with HP Enterprise to come up with a different solution.
Okay, great. There's a lot of companies out there, mine included, that obviously couldn't predict this was going to happen, and we weren't working at home. How do you manage to measure productivity in your own business from the amount of staff that you've got with all these remote workers now?
Well, it's a really good point. So I think the first thing for any business out there is communication. And our board meet every morning at 9 o'clock to go through various statistics that we have got that we measure the business. The good news about distribution, and there's a reason they're all led by accountants, is of course that we like to inspect what we expect, and therefore we've got reports coming out of our ears. So we can measure all the email traffic that goes into the business, and I can assure you are as many, if not more, orders being processed at the present than there were last week. So it's extremely busy out there, but we've got plenty of measurements that we can call upon to measure the effectiveness of the business. However, you're absolutely right. Working from home is not Westcoast's modus operandi. And the casual interactions that you get and the open plan nature of Westcoast allows decision making to happen much, much faster. So the key is to make sure that we can continue to make those decisions as quickly as we normally can, and to make sure that our customers are getting the very best information, the latest advice as to when their goods are going to be shipped and how that they're going to be managed. We've got to do it as well as we can. And of course, we're probably learning every single day, but lots of meetings, lots of conference calls. Microsoft Teams has done a wonderful job for us, and we are engaged in every single aspect of managing all of our people, wherever they may be, and whichever team that they may be in.
Perfect. My last question for you, Alex. There seems to be, I speak to a lot of channel companies at the moment, and lots of them are doing really well, really busy, etc. But there are some, I'm not going to name names, but some seem to be sort of profiteering from the situation and not doing that well. And actually, I'm not going to go over the example of where, you go to the local shop and they're charging £30 for a toilet roll, but there seems to be a lot of companies that are profiteering about that. So why do you think that is? Is it just they're not collaborating with people, or they just want to make a quick buck? It's a shame.
Well, okay, so the first thing is I'm sorry to hear that. There's no question that there are some difficult things out there at the moment to be able to do. If you can't accept a delivery, you've got to make sure that you pay for that redelivery to do that. So you've got to make sure that you are not abusing the supply chain because that's working so very hard at the moment on your behalf. And I think the first thing is to say is that it's not profiteering. It's just to make sure that we're all trying to do this well together and not abusing the delivery companies and our warehouse staff at the same time. However, I'm very sad to hear we haven't increased our prices. There will be some price increases just because of dollar rates and exchange rates, of course, coming through at the moment.
Yeah.
And of course, there are some very difficult supply constraints at the moment. And clearly, of course, that if the NHS come a-calling, we will be prioritising their orders over everyone else's. So there's inevitably going to be times where you lose out to an NHS order because there's no question that we are supporting whatever the government needs at the moment in order to help them. However, it is wrong to use this opportunity to increase prices. We are trying to make sure that we have as business as usual as we possibly can. And that, of course, includes our payment terms as well. We aren't extending payment terms because we've got to make sure that we can keep going through this.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more question for you, Alex. Obviously, I know you haven't got a crystal ball, but as we navigate through these sort of choppy waters, what's your view on what's going to happen in the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks? Do you think we'll sort of come out of it, or do you think it will last most of the summer?
Listen, that's a lovely. I'm certainly not the chief medical officer of Great Britain, and I certainly can't anticipate what's going to happen. You can hardly anticipate what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone in 3 to 4 weeks' time. Clearly, I think that we need to make sure that we follow the government's advice, stay at home wherever possible, go out as little as possible, and make sure that we protect our NHS and save some lives. And of course, I thank everyone who's volunteered, including our own staff, who volunteered for the NHS as part of this enormous drive to help everyone in the country. But the sooner that we do that, the sooner we will come out of it. And I think that's the key point to mention. I can't tell you when that's going to be, but what I can say is that we've got to get through this and to make sure that we help each other to do that. And everything that you can do to help your distributor, no matter who they are, and to make sure that you're helping us deliver effectively, efficiently, and as quickly as we can, that all of that will be extremely helpful to everyone. And of course, the quicker that we do all of this and the quicker we do this work, I'm sure the quicker we'll come out of it.
Alex, great. I haven't got any more questions. That's great, Alex.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.